Welcome to Up to Date. Today we will discuss the National Education Policy 2020. The policy document runs through 66 pages. We will discuss the special features, criticisms and the way forward. Let's get started.
The purpose of education is to open the windows of the mind. The education policies in India since independence have strived hard to use education as a means to achieve the full human potential. The National Education Policy 2020. This was a demand which was long pending before the government. It was the need of the hour to address the problems faced by our country. Sustainable Development Goal number 4, adopted by India in 2015, seeks to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all by 2030. Now, this sort of a target requires complete reconfiguration of the education system. NEP 2020 is an approach to achieve these targets. The most important point about this policy since it was drafted in 2019 is that there was a wide consultation process via the online MyGov platform. Almost 2.5 lakh Gram Panchayats were approached for suggestions. The draft was also translated into 22 languages for further consultation. The reports of two committees were taken into consideration. The first one was TSR Subramaniam Committee and the second was K. Kasturi Rangan Committee. The TSR Subramaniam Committee report 2016 sought to improve the quality and credibility of education by addressing the implementation gaps. The second one, that is the K. Kasturi Rangan Committee, it sought to address the 5 major challenges faced by the current education system. Number 1, access. Second one, equity. Third one, quality. Fourth, affordability. And the fifth and the last one is accountability. The National Education Policy envisions an education system rooted in Indian ethos that contributes directly to transforming India, that is Bharat, into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society. By providing the high quality education to all and thereby making India a global knowledge superpower. The main features of NEP 2020 are: the first one, the restructuring of 10+2 structure to 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, covering ages of 3 to 18 years. The policy aims at universalization of school education. So, the first stage will be the foundational stage, which will consist of 3 years of Anganwadi, or you can say that preschool, plus 2 years of primary school in grade 1 to 2, covering ages 3 to 8. Now, what will happen here? The learning would be through the playway method. Then the second will be the preparatory stage. This will be for grades 3 to 5 and the ages covered will be 8 to 11. Here the learning would be through activity and there will be incorporation of some light textbooks. Now the third will be the middle stage for grade 6 to 8, and it will cover ages from 11 to 14. The subject teachers would be introduced for discussion in this section for abstract concepts. The last one, the fourth one, it is the stage where grades 9 to 12 will be covered, and the age group will be 14 to 18. What will be the speciality of this section? Here 4 years of multidisciplinary study where subject oriented knowledge with greater depth and greater critical thinking will be incorporated. So we can see that the thrust is to move education system towards real understanding and experiential learning. Now what does that mean? Experiential learning means learning through your own experience, that is by making mistakes and by questioning yourself and then finding the answers. As we all know that despite English being a global language, a lot of students have difficulty in learning the language. And Center has clearly stated that no language would be imposed on any state, discarding the way for Hindi as a mandatory language. So now in this case, the policy is coming with a 3-language formula wherein the 3 language learned by the children will be choice of the states, regions, and of course the students themselves. Out of the 3, 2 have to be native to India. The policy even says that the medium of instruction until at least grade 5, but preferably till grade 8 and beyond, will be the home language or the mother tongue. But there is a problem here. Education being a concurrent subject, states too have an equal say in this regard, and hence it would be left to the discretion of the states to decide whether they want to take it or implement it in their education systems or not. The gross enrollment ratio for grades from preschool to 8th standard was 90.9 previously. For grades 9 to 10, it is 79.3%, and for grades 11 to 12, the percentage is 56. Now what does this indicate? This indicates that the enrolled students drop out after grade 5 and grade 8. Now NEP 2020 aims to achieve 100% gross enrollment ratio in preschool to secondary level by 2030. The solution suggested for this is effective and efficient infrastructure in schools. Also, with the midday meal, now students will be given a nutritious breakfast to make their productivity higher while learning. With the Revolutionary Right to Education Act, we were able to provide the students with the textbooks, but the art of solving, writing properly, and even reading is missing in the students. A class 8 student cannot make you explain the textbook of class 5. This indicates the harsh reality of our education system. Several ASEF reports have highlighted this fact. So, NEP 2020 focuses on reading, writing, counting and arithmetic calculation by assessing the child throughout the year. That means there will be a continuous assessment of the child, and the child will be under continuous surveillance by the teachers. The curriculum content will be reduced in each subject to its core essentials to make space for critical thinking and discourage the rote learning. The board exams will be made easier and students will be allowed to take the exams twice. The school curriculum overhaul will come in the shape of a new National Curricular Framework for School Education, which will be undertaken by the NCERT. Empowering students through flexibility in course choices. The separation of various streams, science, arts, commerce, is ruled out. Now the students are free to take any of the subjects from the arts background and mix it with the science stream and study in the secondary level of education. Bridging the digital divide, the new education policy has emphasized the integration of technology in all levels of learning. An autonomous body, the National Educational Technology Forum, will be created to provide a platform for the free exchange of ideas on the use of technology to enhance learning without break in tumultuous times like the one which we are undergoing in this COVID-19 pandemic situation. Second point, quality universities and colleges. The major problem faced by our higher education system are they are severely fragmented, less emphasis on development of cognitive skills and learning outcomes. It is more of a rote learning process. Limited teacher and institutional autonomy. Large affiliating universities resulting in low standards of undergraduate education. NEP 2020 allows the foreign universities to operate in India. It has also introduced the 4-year multidisciplinary bachelor's program with exit options. What does it mean by multidisciplinary? That we can take any subject that is of arts with a science stream and continue with our graduation. Now this program will have multiple exit options. How can we do that? Students can exit after 1 year with a certificate, after 2 years with a diploma, and after 3 years with a bachelor's degree. MPhil program has been scrapped. Students can opt for the master's degree program and they will continue in the usual manner as it was continuing. PhD will also be in the usual way as it used to be. There is a formation of National Research Foundation which will ensure that the research work is taken care of in the universities. One more point is there, the college affiliation system is being phased out over the next 15 years so that every college develops into either an autonomous degree granting institution or a constituent college of a university. One more very important point, academic bank of credit. What is this? It shall be established which would digitally store the academic credits earned by the students. This will take care for the students who get transferred from one university to other due to several reasons and enable the student to continue their studies without break. Reimagining vocational education. Vocational education is perceived to be inferior to mainstream education. This policy aims to overcome the social status hierarchy associated with vocational education and has put forth the idea of integrating it into the mainstream education in all institutions. Generally, students who are not able to cope up with the mainstream subjects are in a situation to take these subjects, but now a special effort has been made to integrate it with the mainstream subjects. The regulation of colleges and universities. An important point here in NEP 2020 is that we are freeing our schools and colleges from the periodic inspection and are placing them on the path of self-assessment and voluntary declaration. The National Assessment and Accreditation Council, which used to give grades to the colleges and evaluate them, now we are revamping it so that they can deliver their best. Now there will be a single regulator for UGC, AICTE, that is the HECI, Higher Education Council of India. It will look after the UGC and AICT. However, the medical and legal education has been excluded from this. The HECI would have multiple verticals to fulfill the various roles, so there is no point that it will not be able to look after the margins of this UGC and AICTE. A major problem in our country is the financial crunch for the socially and economically disadvantaged section of society. Meritorious students belonging to SC, ST, OBC will be given incentives so that they can continue their studies without break. The center is also setting up the Gender Inclusion Fund to build the country's capacity to provide equitable quality education to all girls and transgender students. Teachers truly shape the future of our children and therefore future of our nation. The quality of our teaching is not reaching the standards where it should be. How much ever good infrastructure is present, an inspiring teacher is still the most demanded of all features in school. NEP 2020 has recommended for the establishment of a common guiding set of national professional standards for our teachers by 2022. The new policy encourages continuous professional development of teachers and conducting various workshops, various online teacher development modules so that we can always be up to date with our teaching techniques and patterns. The policy recommends strengthening the Central Advisory Board of Education, which will be responsible for developing, evaluating, revising the vision of education in the country. The name of the Ministry of Human Resource Development has been changed to Ministry of Education to bring the focus back on education and learning. How are we going to implement this NEP 2020 via the finances? Now you see, the current public expenditure on education in India is around 4.43% of the GDP. NEP 2020 aims to increase it to 6% of GDP. The problem here is now that the funds allocated for education are not spent in a timely manner. So, focus will also be on the utilization of funds and increasing the efficiency, checking the loopholes through proper monitoring. A very interesting feature of this policy is the emphasis on ancient Indian knowledge to develop the cultural awareness among our students and a sense of identity. The document states that these elements will be incorporated in an accurate and scientific manner.
You have seen the special features of the policy. The policy raises a lot of questions. Now we will discuss all the questions and answers one by one.
The first question: how will these reforms be implemented? The NEP 2020 is a broad direction and it is not mandatory to follow. Since education is a concurrent subject where both center and states can make laws, these reforms can come into picture only by the collaborative efforts of center and state. The government plans to set up subject-wide committees to develop the implementation plans. The second question: what does the emphasis on mother tongue, regional language mean for the English medium schools? Now this is something which is not new for the government schools. They have been following this even before. But the private schools, they will be left to their discretion as education is a concurrent subject. The third question: what about people in transferable jobs or the children of multilingual parents? The NEP does not say anything specifically on the children of parents with transferable job, but acknowledges the students living in the multilingual families. Now what is the solution given? teachers will be encouraged to use a bilingual approach for the students whose home language may be different from the medium of instruction. The fourth question: will the focus on multiple disciplines not dilute the character of the single stream institutions such as IITs? The demand of today's world is to be equipped with all-round knowledge. IITs are already moving in that direction. Now people expect to know more from the workers of our nation. For example, an engineering student has to know the techniques of building a dam as well as the environmental and social impact of building the dam. That means people want the all-round knowledge and all-round development for the students of this country. Last question. We keep on saying that we should spend more, we should spend 6% on education, we should spend that much amount in health sector. So there is always demand for more. The question is spending the only answer to these problems? Definitely not. Investment alone cannot solve the problem. The grassroots work is to monitor on timely basis proper and effective utilization of funds by the government. Implementation of policy with the real intention of reaching out to every student of India who are in real need of it. Lastly, we should focus on outcome-based assessment, and children should be encouraged for studying and learning in a fun and creative way.
Tremendous amount of effort has been put to formulate the National Education Policy 2020. But still people are criticizing it, and definitely there are certain gray areas inside the policy. Let's discuss them one by one.
The first one, skipping the parliamentary discussion. Time and again it has been seen that major policies have been surpassing the debate and discussion in the parliament. This is leading to strong opposition from the opposition parties. The second criticism, expenditure of 6%. The current tax to GDP ratio is around 10, which is very low. And now we have even demands from the health sector, security sector for funds. How can education fetch 6% of the GDP alone? And how can we manage such enormous amount for education given the structure of our GDP? The goal of 50% gross enrollment ratio in higher education and 100% in the secondary education. The current situation is that we have 25.8% in the higher education and 68% in the secondary. Now, seeing the current situation, it seems quite difficult to achieve the 100% target. The next one, under-equipped Anganwadis. The Anganwadis are already under stress as they are underfunded and poorly equipped. How will they handle the pressure of early childhood care and education? Centralization of authority. NEP creates a single regulator for the education system, but this promotes centralization and discourages active participation of other players. The next, disjointed concept of universalization of education and the Right to Education Act. People have said that right to education itself was not implemented properly, and now this universalization of education has made compulsory education from age 3 to 18. So now this is a step which will face a lot of problem, as we need to give it a legal backing so that this can be implemented well, and as of now there is no such legal backing. Next is the probable confusion of ministry. With the incorporation of early childhood care and education, the domain area of authority is getting overlapped between the Ministry of Women and Child Development as well as the changed Ministry of Education. The next one, paving the way for increased privatization. The term public spirited philanthropic higher education institutes used for the private universities is not going well for a lot of people who fight against the commodification of education. Because NEP 2020 says that these institutions have not been treated equally. Now there is a proposal to set up the higher education institution every district. However, modalities, functioning, operationalities, these have not been made clear. Now, to set up institutions, we need land, we need infrastructure, we need administrative resources, and definitely this is going to create a problem, as the recent trends have shown that corruption in our country is very high. NEP 2020 to a lot of people is seen as a straight move towards increased privatization. The last one, digital divide. The current digital infrastructure is not supportive for the ambitious targets set in the NEP 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the disparities between the rich and the poor, urban and the rural, in having access to digital education, because a lot of students have to drop out of school because of scarcity of resources and monetary support. And in this situation, how are we going to achieve this ambitious target of bridging the digital divide between rural and urban India? Now in this situation, what should be the way forward? The way forward is to tap the potential of our demographic dividend. What is demographic dividend? The population of our country between the age group of 15 to 59 is 62.5%. Now to harness this potential, we have to provide them with the right education. Second one, we should not only focus on the cognitive domain, but also on the social, emotional and ethical domain, leading to the all-round development of the individuals. People also say that there should be a healthy competition between the private and the public schools to balance the funding problem, as there are few public sectors like the Navodaya Vidyalayas which are doing very good in their sector. So we should also encourage the private school as well as the public school for a healthy environment. The next point is, creativity should not be discouraged. Learning should be fun and of creative nature. Policy should be child-centric and students should not be discouraged to question in the classroom. They should be inquisitive of the whereabouts of the life. The last one and the most important one, we should develop the spiritual quotient inside children. That means they should self-empower themselves. They should self-upgrade themselves to become a responsible citizen of the country.